Hi everyone, today's book talk is about Out of My Mind by Sharon Draper. Out of My Mind is about a 5th grade girl who has cerebral palsy, and her name is Melody. And throughout the book, I thoroughly enjoyed this book and the different perspective that it gave. The book is written from Melody's perspective, and it's unique because she's unable to communicate verbally because of her cerebral palsy. So, although Melody cannot speak, she is crazy intelligent, and not many people are believing her except for her parents and her wonderful neighbor, Miss V. So, she longs to speak her mind, she longs to communicate. She tells us what it's like to have cerebral palsy, how frustrated she feels that she can't control her body, that it just moves when she doesn't want it to move. So even though Melody is telling us about all of these challenges and how hard it is not to be able to talk about her thoughts and her feelings and what's in her mind and all of those things, you don't really feel sorry for her. Sharon Draper made it easy to empathize with Melody. And one of the first ways that I felt in which she did that was with the goldfish passage. It was truly eye-opening, so I thought I would read it to you. Here goes. One day, when I was about 7, Oli jumped out of his bowl. I had been listening to music on the radio. Mom had finally figured out I liked the country western station, and I was in a good mood. The music was sounding orangey and yellowish as I listened, and the faint whiff of lemons seemed to surround me. I felt real mellow as I watched Oli do his thing round and round his bowl. But suddenly, for no reason I could figure, Oli dove down to the bottom of his bowl, rushed to the top, and hurled himself right out of the bowl. He landed on the table. He gasped and flopped, and I'm sure he was surprised he couldn't breathe. His eyes bulged, and the gills on his side pulsed with effort. I didn't know what to do. He'd die without water really fast. So I screamed. Mom was downstairs or maybe outside getting the mail, but she didn't come right away. I screamed again, louder. I cried out. I yelled. I screeched. Oli continued to flop and gasp, looking more desperate. Oli needed water. I howled once more. My mom didn't come running. Where could she be? I knew I had to do something. So I reached over to the table and stretched out my arm. I could just barely touch Oli's bowl. I figured if I could get the fish wet, at least a little bit, I might be able to save him. I hooked my fingers on the edge of the fishbowl and pulled. Water splashed everywhere, all over the table, the carpet, me, and Oli. He seemed to flop a little less for a second or two, and I kept wailing. Finally, I heard my mom thundering up the stairs. When she came through the door, she took one look at the mess and the dying goldfish and shouted, "Melody, what have you done? Why did you knock over the fishbowl? Don't you know a fish can't live without water?" Find out what happens to Oli and Melody in this excellent book, Out of Your Mind by Sharon Draper. You won't regret this read. I give it 5 stars.